So you've probably seen the headlines lately about major military action in the Middle East, specifically around Yemen. It can be a lot to take in. So what is really going on? Let's dive in and unpack the chain reaction that led us here.
And really, it all comes down to this one central question. Why did the US and the UK launch airstrikes in Yemen? What led them to take such a direct step? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down right now.
Okay, so first things first, let's talk about the main event itself, the airstrikes. This was the big response from the US and the UK.
What happened was, earlier this year, these two nations teamed up and launched a series of joint airstrikes. And these weren't just anywhere. They were aimed at specific military targets right inside Yemen's borders.
Now, here's the crucial part. These strikes weren't random, not at all. According to what's been reported, they were laser-focused on hitting the Houthis' ability to wage war, specifically their missile factories and their drone factories.
So that leads to the obvious question. What would prompt such a targeted military action? Well, the trigger was something happening at sea, a blockade in one of the most important shipping lanes in the entire world.
You know, it's so important to see that this didn't happen in a vacuum. It's all connected. The larger regional conflict, the Israel-Hamas war, kind of set the stage. Then back in December, Yemen's Houthi forces, they're an armed group that controls a large part of the country, started attacking commercial ships in the Red Sea that they said were connected to Israel. This basically created a blockade, which then directly led to those US and UK airstrikes we just talked about. See? A chain reaction.
But still, you might be wondering, why is a blockade in the Red Sea such a massive deal? Why does it get this kind of international response? The answer is simple. It's what's known as a global trade choke point.
Take a look at this number. Just 10%. On its own, it might not seem that huge, but believe me, in the context of the global economy, this number is absolutely massive. So what on earth does it represent?
Yeah, that's right. A full 10% of all the world's trade passes through that narrow waterway. We are talking about an incredible amount of goods, oil, and materials that the entire world depends on. So as you can imagine, the stakes are just unbelievably high. The Red Sea isn't just a shortcut. It's a critical artery for the global economy. It's a highway for massive amounts of oil and pretty much everything else you can think of. Keeping that lane open is seen as absolutely essential for protecting the international commerce we all rely on every single day.
And when you disrupt a trade route that vital, well, the consequences go way beyond just economics. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important question in all of this, the one that's still unfolding.
This is the question that's on everybody's mind right now. We've looked at the action, we've seen the trigger, and we understand the stakes. But what comes next? Is it possible that these airstrikes, which were meant to secure a trade route, could actually become the first shot in a much wider war in the Middle East? That is the critical, and for now, unanswered question.